any process that you see as we're going through these sessions, any process you see inside of my account that I'm using, they've all come from the process library. So right over here in the 4 key functions, every key function, guiding, getting, running, doing, all have their own process libraries. So these processes you're seeing here, these management ones, the customer complaint one, any one, there's not a process in my account right now that is not in the library. So you don't need to ask me. I mean, you can ask me and I can direct you to where it is in the library, or you can just go here, processes, and look through to find it here in the process library. So now I'm going to go back to customer complaints. So last week we started talking about just some of the general functionality on the process tools page, and then also work plans. So the work plan template is this one here at the top, and the work plan template is used to put in the details, all the not just steps, but qualities and techniques for how to get the work done. So the work plan is the overarching process tool, because within each work plan, there should be enough information that an employee or someone who's learning it or someone who's trying to follow it would understand or know how to complete that process. Now, I got a question about this last week about, is it really, I'm going to paraphrase, but the question was, is it really practical to think that with a work plan, an employee could sit down with that in front of TouchStone, read it, follow it, and know exactly what to do? My answer to that is yes. So I truly believe that almost anything can be documented thoroughly enough that it provides excellent training, and a person could get, 80%, if not up to 100% there after practice. Now, having said that, I'd also like to bring in what I said last week, which is your documentation should be built for the audience for that work. So if I go to hire a bookkeeper, for example, I would hire that person with a certain number of years of experience, a bookkeeping associate's degree or a bachelor's degree in accounting, whatever my qualifications were. Then my documentation, my work plans should start from that point forward. So there may be things like being a doctor, being an architect, being a surgeon, an artist even, where somebody has learned those abilities in numerous years of school and graduate degrees. Well, of course, you're not going to, document how to perform a surgery. So you're hiring the person with those minimum qualifications, and then you are providing documentation through work plans that show the way you want it done. What is important to you? What are the steps? What are the qualities? What is the way that you perform that action or want that performed in your company? But having said all that, I do truly stand behind the fact that work plans can be documented thoroughly enough that they provide phenomenal training, and in a lot of cases enough for employees to be able to learn it just by following what you've created here inside the process. So this is just an example of a work plan. The next thing we're going to talk about, the next tool down, is a checklist. So checklists are right under work plans. You can take a work plan like this one, and with one click right here, you can convert it into a checklist. So I just click this check mark, and then I say okay. And now this work plan is now a checklist. It's still a work plan. So if I click back on it right here, you're going to see it's still step-by-step set of tasks, still the same content. But now if I click down here under checklists, I now see that it's been created and built into a checklist. Each of the tasks in the work plan has been set against these tick boxes. That's what makes it a checklist. So this feature is kind of nice because sometimes if you need a quality control checklist, it really is just the tasks of the work plan that you want someone to check off as they do that work. This conversion tool, converting work plans to checklists, is also great for new employee training, because it might make sense for a while that the employee tick these boxes off for every step that they're doing when they're doing it while they're learning. So I wouldn't expect that an employee would fill out this checklist every time they perform a customer complaint forevermore, but more, I would just want a new employee doing it for a few weeks or a month, just to make sure that they're being methodical about how they're doing it. And then when the need for this training checklist is over, I could just go here and delete it. I could even call this in the title, I can say use for new employee training for like 6 months, or I could put that in the objective, and then I just save this here. So it's clear to anyone who's looking at this, oh, if I'm not in new employee training, that's kind of a cool acronym, new employee training net. So if it's clear to anyone else who's doing customer complaints, if they're not new and they haven't been told to complete this checklist, then if they saw this, little note in the title, that they would realize that this checklist is not for them to have to use. Then you just save that. So to make a checklist that hasn't been converted from a work plan like we just did, I would just click the little plus sign right here. And then I'd put in customer complaint checklist if I want. So think of the title. What is the title of this checklist you're creating? You can make it the same title as the work plan or the same title as the process itself, customer complaints. But oftentimes a checklist that you would create that's not a conversion of a work plan would have some other kind of purpose for it. So it would be for quality control, or it would be verification of some kind. So you can think of a new title if it makes sense based on the purpose of the checklist. And then here's that familiar objective field. And then I would just hit create checklist. So now I've got a new checklist created. If you look over to the left, you can see it right here. So anytime I build a tool, it's going to appear under the tool type. So work plan, all my work plans will be here. Here's the checklist tool type or header, then all my checklists are here. So it's like an outline. So if I'm going to build this checklist brand new, I just click add checklist item, and then that item would appear. I just hit it twice. So then I click this open, and then this is the first checklist item. So this is going next to the first box. So whatever I'm typing, this text in this particular field is going to be related to this checklist item. And then I hit save. And then I clicked the add twice. So that's what you're seeing two here. I just click on the word untitled, and then this is the second. And then I hit save. All this functionality here is very similar to what we went over in work plans. You can put in images and put in hyperlinks and checklists if you want to, although I feel like a checklist should be quality control. It should be for reference sake. It's around to verify that things have been done, and it should be rather quick. It's like, did this, did that, did this. A checklist is not used to completely educate the employee in how to do that. So the work plan is for that. The work plan is giving them the details, how-tos of completing a customer complaint. The checklist, on the other hand, is just verifying that they've done certain steps. So if you build checklists and they've got paragraphs of information in these boxes, I'd kind of rethink that, because you're defeating the purpose of the checklist, which is just remind, did it. They don't need all that extra detail. It clutters it up and just makes it look and feel more complicated than it needs to be. Even when you convert a work plan, like I did right here, into a checklist, I could even go to the task here and just say, locate the customer's invoice. Well, they don't need to know all this. That's all in the work plan. So I might even delete that. And then now it's just locate the customer's invoice. If I want to know how to do this, I can go back here to the work plan and find it. So checklists should be simple and easy. These drag and drop to reorder, just like everything else in TouchStone that you're thinking, how do I change the order of this? Drag and drop to reorder it is 90% of the time, that's how you do it. So if I wanted to then create a third checklist box, just checklist item again, click open the field, and then type in the next prompt or action. and then save. Easy as that. This functionality is the same. If I want to take this checklist out of this particular process called customer complaints and move it into a whole nother process, I would just hit this move process icon, and I find the process that I want to move this into and hit move, and it moves it. Printing, we went over that. You can download a checklist to a PDF or print it. Archive, you can archive checklists just like the other tools, and then this is the delete. So let's talk for a minute about the purpose of checklists, what they're here for, and how you would actually use them. Where we are right now on the process tools page, right here, process tools, this is where the checklist is created. This is not where it's used. So that's true for all of the process tools here. This is where we're documenting, we're creating the process, we're creating the documentation. We're not using anything here. An employee doesn't come here to fill out the checklist or to be trained or anything. This is only where the creation happens. Where checklists are used are over on the dashboard through a control panel, which I'm going to show you here in a second. When you're deciding to have a checklist or not, you want to think, what is the intention of the checklist? Why is it that you feel the need to have one? If you define that, and then I would suggest even make it part of the objective, like the why of it. Something that's very common with checklists is that you'll delegate them to your employees, you'll tell them to use them, or to your team, and then they'll use them for a while and then they just stop. And that partly is due to the fact that they don't understand the why of it. So why am I filling out this checklist? What is this used for? Who's going to do what with it? If it's just human nature, if I understand why, then it's going to compel me to complete it as I've been instructed. It's not just enough to say, well, you do it because I told you to. That's kind of like, you know, how a parent speaks to their child. We're in adult education here. And so adults are always going to ask why. And if they feel like something is just busy work and for no purpose, then they're not going to do it over time, particularly if the person assigning the checklist to them doesn't reference it at all. So think about the why of your checklist. Some compelling reasons why would be for management purposes. So if I, as a manager, need evidence that these steps have been done, because at some point my manager or a customer is going to come back to me and say, did you do X, Y, and Z? Then I can go back to the checklist and see that it was done. Sometimes for management purposes, it's for quantification. So I need to measure how often and quickly things are done and how one step affects the other. It could be for clarity's sake. So if the process or the steps are very complicated and confusing, and I need to remember the things that I've done and the things that I haven't done because this checklist is completed over a month, say, those are typically the easiest to implement and get employees to use because they themselves understand the purpose of it. It could be interdepartmental. So certain steps have to happen in sales and marketing in order for the customer to be passed off to operations in the best way possible. Or when operations is finished with a project and it needs to get billed by finance, there are steps that need to be completed before they can pass that information off to be billed. So those are all compelling reasons too, to keep clarity and efficiency between departments. It could also be because these are critical steps. If I don't do these tasks or steps in a certain way, it has a big consequence in the end. It could cost money, disruption, disagreement, another compelling reason to have a checklist. So think about your why, define it, and then create your checklists accordingly. The last key thing I want to say about this is a checklist is only as good as its management, the management of it. I didn't say that quite the right way. So a manager makes or breaks the value of a checklist. And it's simply by the fact that either they are not looking at it and using it, they're not fulfilling on the why, they forget about it, they don't follow up. So if you're going to tell your employees, fill out this checklist every time, somebody needs to be looking to make sure that they're filled out. Somebody needs to be commenting on it. Somebody needs to always be checking it. And if a manager ever loses the why, or it becomes, like they miscalculated it and it's not really that great of information, then stop the use of the checklist. So really know why your checklists are here and make sure that you follow up and have strict compliance regarding checklists. So let's go over here to the dashboard, and I'm just going to show you a few examples of checklists and how they're used. So that customer complaint process is linked to job descriptions for whoever's accountable for it. So customer service people, whoever's responsible for customer complaints has that process linked to their job description. Every employee has a control panel for the position they fill. So I'm going to click here on my control panel, and here's that customer complaint process. This has been linked to my job description, and it's now on my dashboard ready for me to use. So if I go here to the customer complaint process, I see the checklist. So here's this one. You saw me edit the title of that. So maybe I go here during training time just for the next 6 months. And as I do this, I'm ticking these steps off. If it's a customer complaint checklist, this might be the customer's name, save as, and there's the notes field, and then I save it. So every time I do this for the next 6 months, I complete the checklist. Or I might go here, if this is a checklist that's used every time a customer complaint happens, the same idea, I'd go here to the customer complaint checklist. I tick off the boxes as I do them. Very easy. This can be done on a phone or an iPad. I put the save as in as the customer's name or whatever makes sense for that checklist, and then I save it. Here's some other types of checklists. Here is something called a year-end checklist. So time-driven checklists are good. So these are the things that I need to finish each quarter. These are the things I need to finish at the end of the year. These are the things I do daily. So if I click this year-end checklist, this is actually a checklist that's been built in the custom form tool. If I click here, you can see the steps. I'll show you how this is built in the custom form tool, but it allows you to do these little comment fields. So same idea, I'm ticking these off as I do all of these things once a year, and then I save it. With a checklist like this one, if I'm the admin finance manager and I'm doing all the financial end year stuff and I tick off all the boxes that I did those things, then my manager can go and look and say, did she do them? Here's another type of checklist that I like. This is called, I just called this daily to do. So this is a checklist that is actually a hyperlinked set of processes that I follow daily. So these are hyperlinks to actual processes on how to do sales follow-up, how to do contracts and proposals. So this is a quality control checklist that's helping me control my day and also make sure my manager knows that I've done these things throughout the day. This checklist is like a high-level checklist. It doesn't give me the details of how to do all these things. Like I could click here and find it if I wanted to. It's just verifying that I did them every day. Okay, so let's go back here to the process. Okay, next tool down is called a script. And you saw me show a little bit about scripting in the first webinar last week. We were talking about work plans. Scripts are used for documenting verbal interactions, frequently asked questions, anything that needs to be explained verbally. So to build a script, I just hit this little plus sign. So all the tools work the same way. We'll call this the customer complaint script. You don't have to put script at the end of this. I kind of like to do it, but that's totally just conditional on whether you prefer that or not. Objective, same thing. Why does this script exist? Why is it here? And then I hit create script. So now you see I've got my new script down here to the left under the script header. When I want to start building it, I click add script item. There are two key fields for the script. There's the prompt and then the script. The prompt is the situation. So it's basically like what's happening. Like the phone rings, the question, or it could be, if it's a frequently asked question, it could be the question that's asked. And then the script is what's said in that situation. So it's the greeting if you're answering the phone, it's the answer to the question, and then you save it. So that's one piece of the conversation, or one frequently asked question, question, answer. Then I hit add script item again, and now I'm on to the next piece of the conversation. And the same idea, I do the prompt and then I do the script. So there are different types of scripts. There's basically two. One is a frequently asked questions script. So this is an example of that. We call this an FAQs for customer complaints. This is question being asked, what to say when the product is damaged or late, wait and listen. It can also have these verbal cues in it. And then this is the script. I'm so sorry your product arrived damaged. That's very disappointing. And then it goes to the next. What to say to let the customer know why, if there was a mistake, was on their end. So you're explaining what you're doing and why you're doing it. And then these are the words. What to say when it's our fault. So these frequently asked questions are situations that arise or questions that get asked, and then what the answers are. Then there are what I would call conversational scripts. So this one here is called providing a solution. This could be called answering the phone, just to make it simple. So it's, a situation and a verbal interaction that occurs during that situation. So you see the prompt here says greeting, and then the script for this section is, hi, I received your request. Let's talk about a solution. Prompt, ask for their version of the situation. Here's a verbal cue, listen, wait, be patient. So in addition to the prompt being what's happening, can also be give them verbal cues like be empathetic or speak in a soft voice or be stern in what you're saying. So you can give, so that the person learning this understands the tone. Can you tell me what happened? Question mark, open-ended question. That's why this says wait and listen. Then it goes to the next part, confirm that you understand the issue. Can I repeat this back what you've told me, Mrs. Smith, to make absolutely certain I understand you? So this script is a conversation that's happening, a back and forth between me and the customer, trying to get to a resolution of their complaint, all the way to the end to where it concludes. So again, this is like a conversational script. So typically if there's a verbal interaction, there's a phone call, there's a face-to-face where someone is disseminating information. A conversational script like this one is probably pretty typical. And then anytime there's questions that may or may not come up, or situations that may or may not happen, a frequently asked questions script is good in that situation. This works the same as the other tools. It's all click to edit. All of these toolbar items are the same. Scripts can be reordered just by drag and drop, just like the other tools. So I can pull this up and down. When you have a frequently asked questions script, it doesn't really matter the order of the questions or the situation. So these could be in any order. This is kind of like a catch-all for things that could go down in the conversation. But sometimes they don't, not every customer complains about the price, but is that a good thing to have in your sales process? Like how to answer that, somebody questioning the price? Well, of course it is. So that would be a good frequently asked questions script, but it probably wouldn't be a part of the workflow script like this one, where every time the employee would say, are you concerned about the price? Well, you don't want to do that. So anything extra that may happen or not happen, then that's always great in this frequently asked questions script. Scripting, I really like it. I think it's kind of underrated to a certain degree. To me, when you're dealing with selling things, customer service things, service delivery, employee issues, scripts are phenomenal because you can put the words, the content that sometimes takes a person years and years to develop over trial and error. You can take all of that and condense it down into a really thought through, detailed script. And the idea is not that you would produce robots where everyone's walking around saying the same things. It's not like that. Scripting isn't. It's something that's internalized, it's practiced, it's memorized, and then it comes out in your own words. You have intellectual property in your business right now, and it's in the form of your employees' knowledge and your own knowledge. And you, in some situations, have paid for that knowledge over years of giving them a salary. And you have paid for that knowledge over years of you gaining it through trial and error. If you could take just 20% of that and put it into a script, into documentation to capture that, wouldn't that be phenomenal? Wouldn't that be really important if you hired a new employee and you had this to train them with? So think about it that way. Think about it as a way to capture knowledge. Next tool down here is called uploaded files. And there is not an uploaded file here. That's why this is blank. So I get this question every so often, like, well, how do I know where the uploaded file is? Or how do I know where the document is? Well, this is the header, and it should be under here if there was a file. This is the header, the document tool, and this is the only document I have there. This is the header, the script, and then these are all my scripts. So to make an uploaded file, I just click the little plus sign, same as the other tools. Then I give it a name. I like to name the uploaded files the same name that the actual file has been saved as. So uploaded files are Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or PDF documents that you've uploaded to TouchStone. So anything on your network that is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or PDF, and you want it to stay in that original file format. You don't want it to be in TouchStone in any other file format. You want it to stay as an Excel spreadsheet or a PowerPoint, then that's what the uploaded files tool is for. So on your computer now, whatever those files are named is what you should name it in TouchStone, so it's familiar. So name the file and then the objective. Remember, this is the why. Why is this here? If I was just looking at this as a random employee, I should be able to click on it and say, oh, it's this file and this is why it's here. This is what it's for. And then I hit create uploaded file. So the file name is right here, but I haven't uploaded anything yet. But I see the placeholder for it. So I would take my file and I drag it here into the field. So I just pulled this off of my desktop and let go. Oh, it's the incorrect file format. Let me do it again. Here's a Word document. I let go. TouchStone thinks about it. Boop, uploads it. Just like that. There's no saving. There's nothing else that has to happen. You can upload multiple files. So I can go down here again, hit the uploaded file tool, and I can say, second file. Same thing, hit create, go to that file, pull it over, and now this one's uploaded. So now you can see I've got two files here. If you want to view the file, you just click it. So click right on the file name, then hit view file, and then TouchStone is going to launch that file. Mine is opening down here in the bottom corner of my screen. If you have a Mac, as I understand, those open in your downloads. So you need to go to your downloads to see them. Sometimes people have a setting on their computer where you're forced to download a file to your computer before it opens. I've seen that in Mac settings quite a bit. That has nothing to do with TouchStone. So if you get this message that pops up saying, before you can view this file that you just clicked on TouchStone, you need to download it to your computer first. That's something you can change by just having someone who understands how to change that setting, change it. Typically, you would just click the file if you don't have that setting in place, and it would just open. It would launch Word, and then the file would open. That file sits in the downloads, but I clear out my downloads like once a week. So it's not actually on my computer multiple times every time I view it from here, if you clear your downloads. So this file in Word I can click it and view it, do whatever I want with it, close it, delete it. It doesn't affect the original file that's still here in TouchStone. So I opened this and viewed it. I'll just click on it so you can see Word's launching, but I don't have Word, so it's going to tell me I can't do anything with this. So I can, from this view, I could change this. I could do anything I want to it. These changes aren't happening in TouchStone. These changes are happening in Word because this file just opened in Word. This original file here is still in TouchStone. So my point is, if I make a change to this, I need to go File, Save As, save the changes I made, and then I need to go and replace the old file with the new file. So I would then have saved that new file, drag it back here, let go, and now TouchStone just replaced the old one with the new one. So with the uploaded files, this is like a document storage. It's like holding these different templates or spreadsheets or the tools. It's just another tool that is used in the process. But because it's an uploaded file holding this information in a certain file format, every time you click at it, it's going to launch that onto your computer, which is outside of TouchStone. So then you save the changes that you've made and re-upload it. So good reasons for uploaded files. Number one would be if you have a spreadsheet, because none of our tools here do calculations. None of them are spreadsheets. So if you do have something regarding the process that has to be done in a spreadsheet because it runs calculations, well, then that'll have to be an uploaded file. Another reason for an uploaded file is if you have a Word document and it's got like maybe attachments to other Word documents, or it's got like autofill, it's like a customized complex Word document with lots of fillable fields and things that you've designed to work in Word. Well, that would be another reason to keep that in Word and just upload it as a document. Sometimes PDF manuals. So if you have like an equipment manual or a reference manual that's inches thick, that is in a PDF document, and somebody may need to use that information when they're running the customer complaint process. Another reason to upload it as a file. PowerPoint, same thing. There's no PowerPoint functionality, although I don't think people use PowerPoint all that much anymore. But if you do, then that would be a reason that it would have to stay as a PowerPoint document. If you use Google Docs, you can make hyperlinks to those documents. So they don't necessarily need to be uploaded files here. In the work plan, like here, you can say, like, go to this spreadsheet, and you highlight this, and then you go to the hyperlink tool. This is going to be a URL, and you put in the location of the Google Doc and hit insert. And every time it's clicked, TouchStone will take them right there to that Google Doc. There's no file storage limitations in TouchStone, so you can keep, as many uploaded files and as much content as you want. On the dashboard, uploaded files can be used, just like you saw me with the checklist. And I'm going to go into this a little bit more in the last webinar, webinar number 7, showing you more about how uploaded files are used in TouchStone through the dashboard. Next tool down is called the document tool. So to make a document, I click the header here, document, and I'm going to call this the customer complaint document. Again, the objective, this is the why. Why is this here? What do I do with it? I hit create document, and then I click, and it opens. So this is the document tool, and it's called the document tool because it's like a blank Word document. It's the most customizable of all the tools. What I mean by that is it doesn't have a fixed template to it. It's not tasks. It's not prompts and scripts. It's free. So this is free for text. You could make a list. You could cut and paste in from Word. You could put images in with the image uploader right here. So anything that you want to be big, like 8.5 by 11, you can take the image and just drag it into this field and it will appear. Or you could do what I did, which is clicked on the image, and then you can browse and find it. You can insert images, and you saw me do that last week, into any of the tools. They make the most sense, I think, in the work plan, though, because you're you're showing a step, a picture of what you're asking them to do, what that looks like, and then you're putting text on the top of it or behind it. But if you have a big image that needs to be 8.5 by 11, it has a lot of details in it, so someone needs to see it, large, this is a good place to put it. And then you could just make a hyperlink to it back up here. There's nothing wrong with putting a big 8.5 by 11 image into the work plan. It just makes the work plan longer and you have to scroll through it more to see everything. This also, you can build forms in it. So I just go here and then I put in like the columns and rows, and then there the form pops. The custom form tool, which I'm going to show you next, is better in my opinion for creating fillable forms. So things that you want someone to put content in or answer questions and put in comments. The custom form is really good for that. Although if you want this to be in the form tool because you like this functionality better, that's perfectly fine. All this table building that you're used to in Word occurs in here as well. You can take content that's in Word and you can cut and paste it into the document tool. So if you've got any kind of like a list or a narrative or paragraphs of information, or maybe like sample emails or letters, and you want that content to be in TouchStone in the process, then the document tool is great for that. So I'm going to hit cancel on this. I didn't save it. That's why it went blank after I clicked cancel. Here's an example of the use of the document tool for like a list. So if you have like, this is customer satisfaction guidelines. This is a great place to make a list. Even like sections of a manual that have just need to know type things. The document tool is a great place for that. This customer complaint process could have, like a booklet full of customer complaint techniques that you got off the internet or you created. You could cut and paste that into here. And then when the employee is learning the process, they read this content. Sometimes there are processes that aren't a step-by-step, that they're really just background information, or they're just things to study. It's just informational. And in that case, I have seen where a process doesn't even have a work plan and all it is a document. And then that document has that listed information. If you have like a written out management philosophy or a strategic objective for the year, anything, a detailed kind of policy regarding something with a lot of paragraphs and information, if you make a process for that and then you use the document tool and you cut and paste it in like this and save it and link it to everyone's job description or make it a public process, when somebody goes to it here on the dashboard, they're not going to see work plans check. They're going to see all this, that it just collapses it down to one thing, which is the actual document. And they click on it and there it is. So play around with this. One more thing, if you do have something that's a Word document as an uploaded file, so it's in Word and it's an uploaded file, and you open it and it's just text or a form, and it's not any links to anything, it's not a spreadsheet, I think it's better to use the document tool than to have it be an uploaded file. And the reason is, if I click that information here, I'm going to have to hit view file, wait for Word to launch, and then boom, there it is. It's just a few extra steps. In addition, if I want to make changes to that content, again, those changes are happening in Word, like this example. They're happening in Word, not in TouchStone. So I have to do file, save as, and then re-upload it. If it's a document, you just click and then boom, there it is. If I want to edit it, click and it opens. So something to think about. Next tool down is called a custom form. This is one of my favorite tools. So to make a custom form, same thing. I'm going to click custom form. Then I'm going to put in customer complaint, custom form. Again, the why right here. Why is this here? When is it filled out? Why is it filled out? Hit create custom form. These are the different tool options for the custom form. So if I want to build a short answer field, like a name field, I just click short answer. In the field title, I type in what I want to be the title of the field, name, then I hit save. And then you can see this name field appears. If I want a bigger field to put in unlimited information, it's a paragraph. So I choose paragraph. I'm still going to title the field like comments or what happened. So you can ask a question here. You can just ask for a comments or notes and then save. And then that gives it the title. And then this field, when it's actually typed into in the dashboard, it's going to expand and expand. You can also ask multiple choice questions where there's only one answer. That's what multiple choice is. There's not multiple answers. There's just one answer. So I click multiple choice, and then I can type in the question, what or why. Choices, let's just make it A, B, and C. I can add more choices just by hitting this little plus sign. Now I can have a D right here, or I can eliminate choices if there's just one or two. These can be reordered just by dragging up and down. So I hit save, and now that appears. So multiple choices when there's one answer. Checklist is when there are multiple things that could be checked off. So checklist just looks a little different. So you can type in a question or a list or say what you want in the title field. We'll just do A, B, C here again. In the checklist, you can add more or less, same way we did with multiple choice. I hit save, and then this is what the checklist looks like. When a checklist, just like multiple choice, when a checklist is used or these custom forms are used on the dashboard, I can tick off multiple things here, not just one. And then we have drop down, which is great for yes, no questions. So this could be yes, this could be no. And I could get rid of this choice. So there's only two, and then I hit save. It's also good if there's a list of things, like a drop-down list of many options. So it makes the form a little shorter because it's condensed down with this little drop-down. I could even do something like this where they have to answer yes, no. And then I could go up here to paragraph and just type in like if, no, why. And then save that. And so now they have a field here that relates to this. You can do that, anywhere, like why did you tick off these different things? You can put a why. So the custom form tool is used to collect information about what happened while somebody was doing the work, basically. It's a way to store and house content, whether that's for quality control or if it's information that needs to be gathered for a whole year and then used somewhere else. So, and again, this is mobile friendly, like you can use it on a cell phone or on a mobile device. If I want to edit any of these fields after I've created them, I just click and then it's going to open again for me to edit and change. You'll see quite a few examples of custom forms in the library processes. I see these commonly for management things, which I think is a great use for the custom form. Some of us have other tools, other software tools that we use that have things like this in already, like for your customer management or your production management, customer records. You have a CRM maybe, and there will be forms like this already inside of your other software systems. You don't want to recreate the wheel and not, you don't want to duplicate your effort. If you do have forms like that you're using in another software format, how TouchStone interacts with that is TouchStone is going to hold the operating procedures for that other software. So if I had this customer complaint form, say in my production management software, and the work plan, I would have a task that says, fill out the form in the project management system, and I could make a link to it. But you wouldn't have to duplicate the form clearly. But for management purposes, HR things sometimes, there are other software programs don't have things in them for those purposes. So things like agendas, meeting agendas, preparing for like a disciplinary action, and you're having like, a verbal or written warning you're giving to an employee, or coaching documentation where you're trying to teach them something or get through something that's difficult and you want to make notes about it because your manager wants to know what happened. Anything like that, the custom form's great for. Communication between departments or even between management and like the board of directors. So you can have like quality control documents, things for safety, quantification like quarterly and monthly indicators, key indicators. People can report results happening in their department in forms like this. And then when they're saved back to TouchStone, their manager can then go run a report and see what's been completed or filled out. Another great use for the custom form tool is for tests. So this is, I just called this customer complaint new employee test. So the idea is that you document the process fully. It's got a work plan, it's got checklists, scripts, the employee studies it through the dashboard, watches the videos, memorizes the work plan, practices the scripts, and then when they feel like they're ready, they take the test. So this is just testing knowledge of what's in this process. So this is an open book test because the employee could clearly go look at the work plan here or look at the script to answer the question. So it's really better to, I suppose you could make a separate process and call it customer complaint new employee test, and then just give the employee access to that to take the test and not to the whole customer complaint process. You could do that. But I feel like open book tests are better anyway, because they really, the questions strive to not trick the employee, but get them to really have to think about it. It's not just the simple yes, no, A, B, random multiple choice test. It's a, what do you think in this situation? What are the steps that need to be gone over? What is a warranty issue? Describe it in your own words. How do you determine it? How does the beginning of the customer conversation work? So you want to try to think of ways of testing their knowledge without it being, you know, as simple as them just looking and saying, oh, step 2 is this. So new employee testing, that's a good use of the custom form tool. Next tool down is called a policy note. So to make a policy, same as the other tools, I click here, I put in the policy name, put in the why, hit create. Be brief with the title and the why, because sometimes you start, I've written a lot of policies, and sometimes you start to say the policy in the title. So keep the policy title as short as possible. And then here in the template, it's going to ask you who it's from, who it's to. It gives a date and then an effective date for new policies. You want to give, 4 or 5 days for the employees to be able to go and review it before it's in effect, new or revised. And then here's the actual policy statement. So use the policy tool when you've got something that's just of the utmost of importance about the process. So it's like legal, compliance, safety related, something about your company culture. Another great use of policies is for change management. So like if I had a sales manager and they were really negative and they kind of polluted the attitudes and the morale of the sales department, I could then create policies that would shift the tide and define the culture a little more, like no customer will be made promises that don't. So things like that, where you want to kind of change some kind of attitude that's been created for whatever reason. Sometimes it's your own doing. Like Michael Gerber used to say, look in the mirror first. So in other words, the entrepreneur, the business owner shapes the views and the attitudes of the business. So if you want to change some cultural things that you created yourself, think of what's an overarching policy that we could create, have a conversation, and then have employees agree to it. We decided to put policies in the process content rather than having external policy manuals. The only exception to that would be an employee handbook, where that needs to be like in a PDF document and signed and then saved, which can happen on the dashboard. Other than that, the policies are good when they're inside the process they pertain to. If you have a 20-page or 50-page policy manual with just a random set of maybe organized policies, I could read through that. I could try to memorize it. but I won't remember it unless I really have context for it. So having policies inside of the processes they pertain to can be really effective. I'm just going to save this. Lastly, we have video and audio upload. So these two tools are for training purposes. So they're used if you can create a visual or verbal interaction or demonstration of the process. So look at your process after you've documented it and just ask yourself, could I do a training video for this? If the answer is yes, shoot the video either by doing a screen capture video or even using your phone and actually recording something. There's a great tool that I love called Loom. I'm just going to make a video placeholder here. So I just click the plus, and then I'm going to call this the customer complaint video, and then hit create. So now I've got the place for the video. Then I'm going to go over here to Loom. It's LOOM. That's what it stands for. The free version of Loom lasts 5 minutes, and you can see that in the bottom right-hand corner. You can upgrade to Loom's paid version, or use something like Camtasia, which if you want to do fancier videos with a lot of bells and whistles, then you probably need something paid. This works really great for me. I feel like 5-minute videos are really to the point and clear. If you have a 20-minute video or an hour-long video, it's harder for people to remember. You lose their attention to a certain degree. So shorter videos are better. So this is Loom. I choose if there's like a current tab or a full tab. I'll just do the current tab. And then I would hit just this start recording. Then I'm going to get like a countdown. So now my computer is capturing my screen movements. So I can go here to the work plan. I could say, okay, first thing you're going to do is this, and then you're going to do this. I could click away to another software and show that. I shut the camera off, but down here you could have your face even talking as you go through. Then when you're happy with the video, you just hit finish, or you're finished with it. There's no video editing in this. This is just, I guess you can trim pieces of it, and you could put in thumbnails and different things like that, but there's no way to kind of stop the video, cut it in half, and then put another video in. So simple, kind of easy videos. Then once the video processes, and it just takes like a few seconds for it to process, you go and download it. So I just downloaded it right here to my computer. And then I'm going to go back to TouchStone and go back to this video space I created right here. And I just take the video and I drag it right into the field, and then it thinks about it for a minute, and then boom, there's the video. So Loom, really easy to use. I feel like fast, easy, not totally Hollywood produced videos are the best training videos. If you overthink it and you hire a camera crew, and I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. If you overthink the videos and you've invested all this, time in it, then you're going to be less likely to want to change it and make it better. So start, and it's going to be a hindrance to you getting it done. That's the biggest point. So start with just really quick, easy videos. Download Loom, use your phone, record how something is done. Use the work plan as like a guide, because the work plan has the tasks, right? So I can have this work plan open, and then I can be like, okay, task 1, go and do this. And I'm showing it as I'm clicking and talking about it. You can do videos of like welcome to the company videos of you talking, or if you're a manager, welcome to my department. This is how we flow. This is what we believe in. Find all kinds of great excuses to do videos. It's really engaging, and it adds to the training. Now, videos don't replace work plans. You can't just create a video of how the process works and then just be like, done. No, it's not good enough, because if I'm watching this 5-minute video even, I might forget about what happened, at minute 3. Or if it's a longer video, I could forget what happened at minute 15. And step two, well, when was step two? So you see what I mean? You're going to have to like rewind and try to find that step. It just doesn't work well enough to be the documentation. It enhances the documentation for sure, but it's not enough to say the process is fully documented. It's not enough for training. And then audio is the same idea. So to create an audio, you just click the little plus sign, same as video, and you're going to give it a title. Now, audio is MP3 files. So everybody's phone, you can download an app to capture audio, super easy. So if you want to record even a phone conversation, you can use a phone to record that now. You can record it through your computer if you use video phone. But you could definitely use your cell phone to record anything. Anytime a process has a script in it, I feel like these audio files are fantastic. So like down here, there's a few examples. This is an audio file of the customer complaint resolution example. So this is this script right here. This is someone doing like a role play of it or an actual scripted conversation. So think about how you would accomplish that with your scripting. You can even do things like this, what not to do. So example of how not to sound. And so you could do a video or a screen voice capture of somebody speaking inarticulately or using a certain tone that doesn't work well when you're trying to deal with a customer's complaint. And these kind of things go a long way, because if somebody can hear in their own ear what that sounds like when they're saying something a certain way, it has a big impact. So get creative with your audio files and your scripting. It can be, really powerful for training. So that is the process tools page and process documentation. Like I said in the beginning, only use anything below work plans when it is necessary. So oftentimes a process will just have a work plan in it. It might have just 2 work plans and nothing else. None of the other tools are used. Don't force the need for the tools. If it has a verbal interaction or frequently asked questions, then yeah, use the scripting tool. If you need quality control, then definitely use a checklist, but think that through. Don't over checklist your business. Only have checklists there when you can really describe the why, and it's important, and you are going to spend management time having people review and look at those checklists. So just ask yourself, are all of these other tools necessary? When are they necessary? Always think through these 2, though, at the end. Once your process is fully documented, consider, is this a visual interaction? Can I record this in some way? Would that be useful? Is there use for an audio? Sometimes the answer is no, sometimes it's yes. Think through if you want to make a test. So these are things to do after you've fully documented the process. Then think to yourself, can it have an audio? If yes, do a quick audio of it. Again, don't overthink it. Does it have a script? Should it have a video? Yes or no? And then ask yourself the last question, can we build a test for this? Would that be useful? And if the answer is yes, build the test. And then when you're finished, you come up here and you mark the process as complete. So that's the last step of fully documenting your process. I see your question, Alex. Yeah, I'll get you copies of the other trainings for sure. Next week, we are going to be talking about account administration, public processes, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about reports over here. We discussed about, when you have a checklist, how it's really important for a manager to be reviewing those checklists and making sure that they're there. The reports tool makes it really easy. If I have a checklist that my team needs to do every day, I would go to management reports. I click here and choose the actual day or the week. So this is today. I could go down and even choose the employee, and then I just hit run report. And then I would see a list of the checklists. This is because I put the wrong date in. So we have provided this functionality because it is so important that a manager look to see that the checklists are there. So it's just this glancing. Did Mary do it? Yeah, she did it. It's there. So if the manager does this every day, once a week, even once a month, they're going to see very quickly and clearly, is it all there? If the answer is yes, great. In the next company meeting, I'm like, Mary, you're awesome. Thanks for doing all your checklists. That's all it takes to keep the employees engaged and accountable for checklists.